Shalom, all praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yashai, Bashem Akakandash. Double unto the apostles and elders, great men also in a rule well, and shalom to all the brothers doing the work in all sincerity and truth. Yeah, you kind of had, it's funny, it's kind of over Europe in a few different countries. You had a lot of, basically like anti-lockdown protests, and like London, yeah, these men going a bit mad. I think if the video wants to work, no, I can refresh. Oh.
What's going on? Thank you. You
Yeah, what they did is they picked out the women, they told us they
Yeah, so these men were out in fucking force, man. And it's funny because England, somewhere in London, well, yeah, London, people even been traveling down to London to kind of protest these things. You've had it a few times where it's been people in London kind of kicking off and kicking up a fuss. So yeah, it's you know, people are getting irate about this, and I think the numbers here are way more than they had before. Cause yeah, you can see the fucking mountains of people. It's funny as hell. Eh. But yeah, they said okay, let me read what it says. So it says sea clashes, anti-lockdown mob clashes with cops in London as officers arrest 36 people after being pelted with bottles. Anti-lockdown protesters clashed with cops in London as officers arrested 36 people after they were pelted with bottles. Hundreds of maskless demonstrators marched through the capital yesterday to rally against sea rules just hours after the Met urged people not to join. Yeah, and it's funny because this is, completely unrelated. Well, I guess technically just completely unrelated. From the surface level. But you also had what the fuck was it called, man? That vigil that they did for what's her name? They got murdered, kidnapped and murdered, and that one as well. They said don't do it, and they came in, they started bashing heads in, and grabbing women up, and that's similar thing that's gone down here. So it's that resistance is flaring up again, and it's yeah, unless you know the times, because even what's his name, Boris, supposedly meant to be ending a lockdown over the period of like what it'll be, what, another 2.5 3 months or some shit, some long as fuck, till like I think I won't be towards right at the end when like pubs and bars and shit are back open, and that's based on that's up for review. It's not guaranteed. So people are thinking like this thing is not going anywhere, and they're correct. They're correct as well. It's not really gonna be disappearing. This shit's really hanging around, and it's as far as for the society, the what's the term I'm looking for? Like the government they're gonna continue to, consolidate power to increase. That's why they pass, these laws. It's like the way they're able to police this now is gonna be different. And I might look for a bit more footage. But then it's as far as with these ones, they've been able to kind of just do what they like. Because now they're saying, oh, it's a lockdown, blah blah blah. So you're just not allowed to be out based on that. But then what? The ones they mentioned Extinction Rebellion. Them man were doing their thing before there was any lockdown or anything, and they'll kind of on a man. Them man were gluing themselves to the floor and all kinds of shit. So it's like they're meant to be able to actually grab them up and whatnot. So you're gonna see that's the thing. It's they're not getting them powers for no reason. Yeah, it's got hella foot. That guy's leg looks fucked. Jesus, these are man's got the Bill Gates up. Fucking hell. Yeah. What's this shit doing? Refresh it. Cool. So, okay, let me read on. So the protesters began their march in Hyde Park, continuing towards Oxford Street and blocking off Park Lane, despite demonstrations being banned under lockdown restrictions. And it's funny as well, because I think I saw on the news today, was it Sky or BBC? I think it was BBC. Or maybe it was Sky, I can't remember. They were talking about, the right to protest, blah, 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 as well, under a lockdown, because they're saying, how can you have a democracy if you can't protest? But then that's what people haven't realized, man. People are still out here thinking, they have some form of rights. They have some say. They think they have some form of influence or some form of status or something in the society, to where their word, their input has meaning. But nah, what is essentially it's a thing of like this thing's it's these draconian legislations are being pushed through to basically corner and shack these people up, man. These people in this society are gonna realize that these elites have a vendetta against them, man, and they're it's not gonna let up. The main ones they're aiming for is Jake, but what? It's the people that are resistant. They're gonna be weaned out, man. It says you go to the Georgia Guidestones. It says what? Maintain humanity under 500 million, and you have seven and a half whatever billion people on the planet, heading towards 8 billion. These men are looking to do work. And that's but as well, it's even with these things, the resistance happening, they're just gonna say, hey, look, get the max and you can do what you want, because that's that's the agenda right now. Get that vaccine pushed out. So it says what under the cops were forced to run back to their vans as protesters threw bottles and cans at them in Hyde Park. Around 100 police officers wearing riot helmets and carrying shields arrived at Hyde Park and urged people to go home. The Metropolitan Police said 36 people were arrested at the demonstration, adding, sadly, a number of officers were injured by crowds throwing bottles and other missiles. Yeah, and that shit you can get absolutely destroyed for that. Says this is unacceptable and will not be tolerated, and that's why it's like next time they go out, they can just say, hey, look, these guys use violence. Start bashing their kneecaps in and just arresting them from the jump. I might have to look through that new legislation they passed and kind of see what they, what they say. Because you're gonna have things in it. It's with them legislation. That shit is I think it was 300 pages, maybe more for that one. And it's just like, who the fuck is got the time to sit there and read with understanding, 300 pages of fucking like lingo. It's all gonna be in that legislative lingo as well. So it's not even gonna be plain English. So it says what the force said a significant number of officers from across the Met were part of the policing operation, and many redirected from frontline duties in local communities, while the large majority of people in attendance caused no trouble. Officers did encounter pockets of disorder with crowds throwing bottles and other missiles, and a number of officers were assaulted. A group of around 100 chased police vehicles, punching and kicking them as they left the area. These men were getting fucking rabid, man. Holy shit. It's funny, only arrested like 36 people, so it's like most of these people got away with this shit. From where it appears to be anyway. So if they are following a day of protest around Central Line. Okay, members of the public left the park with small children carried by their parents. Crowds of people held placards and chanted as they stormed the streets, with one banner reading, "Stop destroying our kids' lives." It's funny as well, because it's like people are really just bending over and allowing they're really in that terror of this thing that's going around. So they're basically anything that's pushed out by the government. They didn't vote for Boris. They don't like Boris, or they think is an incompetent nincompoop. But whatever he says, they follow it to the T. So it shows as well, and a lot of it is a lot of energy is coming from women, where they're just in terror because they're realizing like they're just out here, and they're up against danger. Life's not as simple as it seemed, back when they could just go out and do whatever the hell they want, twinkling their feet, and it was all easy to go by. Now there's a time of crisis, there's a time of stress. Then it's like, okay, suddenly they're looking for someone to take the lead, and because through like the what's it called, man? Like the well, it's been the motive of the government since like the 60s to liberate women, to basically get them into positions of power. So they're the ones putting the support. They're basically taking the position of a man in a lot of these women's lives, man. So that's why they'll cling on to that government and whatever they say, because that's basically become who they follow, man. That's become their head, and that's why they're gonna be screaming for people to just comply. And that's why the women are going to be the first one to get the vaccine. Well, women are the first one to get the vaccine. You had in the States, well, even in the UK as well. In the UK, you had some woman in the countryside somewhere was the first one to get it. In the States, it was that black woman, it was a nurse, was the first one to get it. So, these women are basically just going to follow, the line of whatever the government says. Even if they're men's, more rebellious, they're just more susceptible, man. It's like with Adam, man. It wasn't Adam, but it was Eve who was deceived, and then made Adam follow through. Basically, the man got to through the weakness of the woman. So that's something you have happening as well. Because I noticed a lot of what's it called? The weakness of women. A lot of the men, like, especially when it started off, the first like lockdown kind of stuff, a lot of them were more just kind of like they weren't taking it serious. they're like, yeah, it's some BS. But some of them, it's like they have women. It's like that women might have either got sick or someone around them got sick, or they're, and then they'll kind of put that energy on them as well, on their husband as well. So yeah, that's why, when that mark comes out, when that chip comes out, these women are gonna be jumping on it. Let me read a bit more. It says another woman held a sign which said, "Yes, sex is great, but have you ever been fucked by the government?" Officers from the Met Police were out in force to keep the peace, with officers on standby to deal with any trouble. Cops removed one demonstrator who mocked the lockdown restrictions in a hazmat suit and gas mask. What? He wasn't allowed to wear a hazmat suit and gas mask. Who? Well, okay. They have a picture of him. Probably not. Oh, he's a stupid sign. How many fucking men are there needed to to grab this? That's like one. That's what, 5 men? What the fuck? It's just funny as hell. Okay, no, they ain't got a picture. But it says another was pinned to the ground by officers while Jeremy Corbyn's brother Piers Corbyn addressed the masses on a megaphone. Several demonstrators also let off flares for the rally with coloured smoke billowing from the crowds. Yeah, so these men were going apeshit. And that's kind of the energy as well. Because it's people are at their wits' end, man. And it's funny as well, because like they let, I think they said like from what was it, March the 8th? From March 8th, you can go outside and meet up with one other person. So a bunch of people are coming out, and these people are just fucking like readjusting to life. So it's and people are just getting used to, and their expectation is like this is just how it's gonna remain. But I don't know, it's gonna get worse. Let's see what it says. I don't know, blah 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 blah. Yeah. So yeah, it's that same energy, man, that same spirit. This, people are rebelling, and these elites, Esau, they're gonna utilize, this resistance, this rebellion, to increase, what they're able to do. Just like the same thing with that law they put through, and that law is based on, it's also gonna be based on what's happened recently, but that's gonna have been in the work for a while, and especially with people all screaming about this, as women being attacked, women being grabbed up thing. Off the strength of that, and off the strength of these demonstrations, they're going to be able to push through more of that draconian legislation, which is that's a big part of how Esau gets shit done, man. By his policy, it'll cause his craft to prosper, and that's how Esau's getting things done, man. All these lockdowns, there's basically stripping of the rights, empowering the police, to have more power to bash people's heads in. These things are all, going to be utilized by the elites, man. Pushing out that, the Maxine passports, all these different things. Because because this obviously shows people want shit open. So when they're saying, okay, bang, you got to take X, Y, Z, and then you got to have proof to be able to jump back on these things. People are gonna be eager and willing, man, to jump on it. All that, once they can go to the pub, they'll be on it. So let me read this. Second is just 9 and 1. It says, "He answered me then and said, Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs pass, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Yeah. These signs are basically letting us know the what? The Lord's getting ready to basically send his son and let the whole world know, the name Yahweh Shem Yahushai. That's gonna be known, man. It's the year of the basically the beckoning and return of Yahweh Shai, man. And that's all we're seeing is a continuation of what prophecy popping off, man. Read this. Says therefore when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of these things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Yeah, you had earthquake. I think it was today. Was it earlier today? Or maybe yesterday? Actually, I don't even know. The fucking time difference is too much. But maybe it was in Japan. They had it was the same place where there was the earthquake in 2011. Had another earthquake there, like I think 7 magnitude, 7.2, something like that, in Japan. and they had another one a few weeks back, like maybe 2 weeks back before that as well, I believe. So they're it's signs of the times, uproars of the people. You had it not just in London, you had it in Germany as well, and I believe France as well, or one of the Scandinavian countries, I think Norway. But what uproars of the people? Because why? It's everyone's all agitated, man. Everyone's frustrated, and they basically want to be able to go back to doing all the fun things, that they fell in love with Babylon for, man. It's like the Colosseum, man. Man wanted entertainment. That's why they got the festivals back on. It's funny as well because even what do you call it? Japan's doing the Olympics this year. Yeah, they're doing it. They're actually going through it this year, but they said no one from overseas can come to view. So people want their bread and circus, man. It says for like as all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonders and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. Yeah, so this is the time of that end. And it's being witnessed, the works of Yahweh Hashem Yahushai. Everything that you're really seeing happening, it's unprecedented. It's not really this ain't it's not the same kind of cycle of shit you've seen for the last couple of years. This is all everywhere you see, it's brand new shit popping off, where it's just like, yo, this is wild. People are that's why people are in shock and terror, man. Because they're just like, oh wow, this is never happened before. What are we gonna do? But what? It's that time. It's that time of judgment, man. And it's gonna get worse. Get this as well. Says Daniel 12:1, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince that standeth for the children of thy people, and there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. Yeah, so at that time of trouble, that's the time we're in. We're in that time of trouble. Where that's why Esau's pushing out that max, and you had that that's meant to be going mandatory by July in the States. We'll see how that shakes out, because these things, well, we'll see. It's been put out there, but we'll see. And yeah, you got them cryptos, cryptocurrencies, the nationalized cryptocurrencies moving. A lot of shit's popping off, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom, Yabba Shem Yashaba Shem Kakadash Bakata. Shalom.